Keep your eyes on the skies.
Drones are everywhere. We're going to be discussing drones and a whole lot more today on The Undercurrent.
Greetings and
Warren.
salutations. Hello.
Hello. It's so good to see you, Uncle Warren.
Good to see you too. We got Game.film in the house. Good to see you, buddy. He was up here in Chicago a couple of weeks ago.
I'm so jealous.
His lady friend. He went to a couple of Cubs games.
Good.
While he was here. He's a big Cubs fan. I know people like that are like so far geographically away from the team that they love, right? Because a buddy of mine, a big New York Yankees fan, down in Mississippi, never been to a game, never. And so he finally came to visit me when I was living in New York. This is about 10 years ago, I guess. And we go to Yankee Stadium, right? The new Yankee Stadium. His wife got him tickets. They're nosebleed, but whatever. You're there. That's all that matters. And you go up there, and we're watching the game, and it's his favorite team. It's the first time he's ever seen them in New York, and they get the hell beat out of him 10-1 by Tampa Bay. But at least he got to see it. And but like my friend Game.film, he was a big Cubs fan. He always has been, I guess. And so he got the humid day of baseball, and then he got the oh crap, where'd this cold come from day of baseball when that big front came through. It was pretty wild, but it was good to see him.
And I wish I could have been there. Would have loved to have met him and his lady friend. We could all hung out. Hey, Willie Bragg. All right. Always good to see Willie Bragg in the house. Did I tell you, Uncle Warren, about going to the farm team out here to see one of their games, minor league?
Game. Oh no! Who are they? The farm team?
The farm team. Yeah, the Arkansas Naturals. I think it's the Kansas City Royals. They're the farm team for them. Honestly, just a fantastic time. The smaller state. I mean, this is professional baseball. They're pros, so they're really good. The good caliber of play is really good. These state. I've never been to a minor league game. And my brother-in-law is totally into sports. That's his favorite way to watch baseball is minor league. The stadiums are smaller. There's a lot more community involvement and interaction. We came in. The tickets are a lot cheaper, but you get to see a great game. We got these little glow wands that we could wave around in the air when we came in. When we left, they gave us all a baseball. There was a free Friday and Saturday nights. They have free fireworks.
Yeah,
a professional show. I mean, really good. Everything's cheaper. I guess some nights they have $1 hot dog nights, but it was just a great time. And I encourage folks, if you like baseball, if you like watching sports or just getting outside, it was just so pleasant.
Yeah, I used to go to some of the Brooklyn Cyclones games. They had their park down there on Coney Island, right there near the beach. And it's just, you can't beat it. You can't really. I mean, the price is right. Usually, I think tickets for those things maybe are like $10 or something like that. I mean, something maybe a little more. I'm not sure, but compared to the major league ballparks,
oh yeah,
so affordable. And they do these nights, like you say, they give out baseballs. I think one time where they do it every year, they have a Star Wars night where they were like camping out there, and on Friday nights the same thing. They had the big. It doesn't matter if there's a game or not. They're just boom, 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 boom. And it's really professional.
Oh, yeah.
Get outside, touch grass, smell some grass.
And you're not paying $20 for a beer. I think Willie Bragg was recently complaining he was at a sports event where they wanted $20 for a domestic beer. Am I wrong, Willie? I mean, it's just a lot. It's just a lot more relaxed. And I'm not one for watching baseball on television, but I do like to watch it in the ballpark.
It's a totally different atmosphere, right? Yeah. I mean, unless if you're a baseball nut, you're into statistics and stuff like that, it maybe TV's okay for you. But if you want to actually experience it, you want to go to the ballpark. The sounds, the crowd, the smells of popcorn and stuff cooking and stuff like that. And then you got You got silly stuff going on the field between innings and stuff. It's very, it's like, it seems very family oriented kind of fun. Whereas you go to the Major League Baseball parks and there's all this glitz and all this, it's too huge, and you get up in the stands, you can't see anything. It's crazy. So.
And they had these kids, they brought in kids groups, school groups, and some groups that came out to, to sing for us. They had, like, if somebody had a birthday, they had on the back, and the scoreboard in the back, they would wish people happy birthday. It was cool. My recommendation is, folks, be civically minded and get out there to your local minor league games. It was awesome.
Yeah. And go see concerts at local venues too. Don't go to these big,
and they're
giant
not charging you
stadiums.
$20 for a beer.
Exactly. 20 bucks for a beer. Did you put a couple of shots of vodka in there? Then maybe we might have something to talk about. But otherwise, I'm not paying $20 for beer. That's crazy. For $20, you could get like a case of beer. I mean, come on. It's anyway. Speaking of baseball, big name in baseball, and of course, networks, CNN, Ted Turner, no longer with us. R.I.P. King, as the kids say. Brash CNN founder Ted. I was almost called him Tina Turner. Almost calling him Tina Turner. Those two T's. No, is Tina Turner still alive? I think she just died.
No, she died recently, fairly recently.
Yeah, fairly. Okay, so the Turners are no more.
Yeah,
at least those two. Ted Turner, the bullish founder of CNN and a suite of other cable channels, not to mention a Bison Steakhouse. That's what I knew him for. I didn't know about CNN or the baseball thing. No, I'm kidding. A nonprofit designed to prevent the proliferation of nuclear weapons and an international sports competition. Died today at the age of 87. He had announced just before his 80th birthday that he had Lewy body dementia, a degenerative disease that causes dementia and muscle failure. Turner never seemed at a loss for brass or chutzpah. That's for sure. Yeah, he let it all hang out. Let's see if I can do it in his voice. If Alexander the Great could conquer the known world, why couldn't I start CNN? Turner once told Oprah Winfrey. I think that's what he sounded like. He was very like, rah, he was almost like a J. Jonah Jameson kind of thing. He launched the cable news network, CNN, the nation's first continuous all-news television station, on June 1st, 1980, at a converted Jewish country club in Atlanta. The network broadcast news 24/7 from that point on, and indeed built a global array of bureaus. Former CNN chief news executive Eaton Jordan said Turner took inspiration from 24-hour radio stations that relayed news headlines and endless sports highlights on ESPN. Turner remained baffled why the broadcast giants, ABC, NBC, and CBS, hadn't launched cable stations. To him, it was just the most logical thing in the world, and he couldn't understand why nobody else was doing it, Jordan said. So he was going to do it. I guess he's going to do it to himself. So 16 years later, NBC, in partnership with Microsoft and Fox, would launch sibling cable news channels. Each ultimately found success by embracing strong, though opposing points of view, to say the least. Broadcast networks subsequently sought to replicate the original cable ethos with stripped-down streaming services. Turner, a colorful figure with a southern drawl and rail-thin mustache. Yeah, I remember that little pencil-thin mustache thing. Had pronounced views himself often, though not exclusively, of a liberal bent. But he wanted his station to reflect the news, not ideology. Well, so much for that. He thought human understanding across borders would benefit from reporting on stories and people around the world. He was a visionary, a trailblazer, a rabble-rouser, a do-gooder, but not a ne'er-do-well. He was not a ne'er-do-well. And he thought there would be a market for it, Jordan said. Turner often carried a mischievous twinkle in his eye, and his values had been incubated in an earlier era. Jordan... he colorized the movies. Yeah, that was prime.
People got very angry.
Yeah, that was.
Woody Allen actually spoke out against it.
Yeah, just and then people started screwing with movies. Star Wars. George Lucas started screwing around with the first 3 movies and stuff, adding new. Yeah, it's just if it ain't broke,
leave it.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone.
Leave it.
Yeah, Jordan joined CNN in 1982 while he was still in college, working overnights as a desk assistant during his first few years. Back then, Turner often slept in a pull-down Murphy bed. Oh, I love Murphy beds. That is just the best. I'd just be afraid everything could get cluttered, and then I couldn't open the bed again. I'm like, damn it, I got to clean up. He slept in the Murphy bed in his office above the newsroom. He would come down to the newsroom to grab coffee, Jordan recalls, but did not usually interact with the staff. First time they met, Jordan says, was because Turner had a guest. It was Raquel Welch.
Yeah, that old dog.
Woo! They were
not Raquel Welch, but Ted Turner.
They were both in bathrobes, and Ted was so proud of himself for having such good company that he introduced himself and Raquel Welch to everyone in the newsroom at 4:00 in the morning. Can you imagine sitting in a newsroom? You're like, I gotta get this started. You look up, holy shit, it's Raquel Welch
in a bathrobe.
Yeah, in a bathrobe. Yeah, exactly. Like, I gotta quit drinking on the job or drink more. We gotta fix this. These hallucinations. CNN has been a mainstay of television journalism for so long. It's hard to remember that it was often underestimated in its infancy. In the 80s, many people didn't understand what the fuss was about. Longtime broadcast journalist Joy Chen recalls. Many people didn't even have cable yet. I didn't have cable growing up. I ain't either. We lived out in the country. Said Chen, who joined CNN as an international anchor in 91. In those early years, CNN was just considered chicken noodle news, and Ted Turner was at first just considered a dilettante. Ooh, fancy. Where's the fancy? I gotta add that fancy music in here because you fancy. You
fancy. I'm very fancy.
Yeah, that's one of your words. CNN became a training ground for journalists who would be hired by better paying outlets. It's like, come work here so you can go work somewhere else. Chen left CNN in 2001, later working at CBS and Al Jazeera. Look, we were young and at times very shoddy, but we were the only game in town and we did some extraordinary things, Jordan says. Over time, whenever news was happening, CNN was there. CNN broadcasted live when catastrophe struck the Space Shuttle Challenger and its crew in 1986. Yep, remember that? Remember watching that in school? Not traumatized at all. In 91, CNN experienced a defining moment, effectively owning television coverage of the first U.S.-led war against Iraq. I remember that. It was the only U.S. network able to broadcast live from Baghdad as bright flashes from bombs lit the sky. Anchor Bernard Shaw. Yeah, I remember Bernard Shaw. And Pulitzer Prize-winning war correspondent Peter Arnett. Wow, them some old names. Were among those CNN journalists who projected calm under fire. Chen recalls Turner never intended for his journalists to become famous, and she contends he underpaid his staff. You're not famous. You ain't getting no money. Like, thanks, Ted. We were always told Ted's mantra was, you are not the star. The news is the star, she said. She left CNN at the end of 2001. Even as he struck an exuberant tone, Turner's mood could swing to depression. He also battled again and again with rival media tycoon Rupert Murdoch, and even threatened to do so with his fists in Vegas, as the Guardian recounted. Murdoch's New York Post in turn questioned Turner's sanity. Meanwhile, Turner maintained a friendly rapport with the late Cuban autocrat Fidel Castro. In later years, the CNN competed not just with other cable channels, but digital news outlets and social media. It lagged behind its TV peers in ratings. Executives turned over prime time to higher-rated opinion panel discussions featuring ideological clashes. Opinion panel, because of course opinions are news, right? Opinions. No, wait, no, that's their opinions. Conservatives and pro-Trump commentators repeatedly accused the network of listing to the left, but it retained its journalistic DNA to a significant extent, rising to the moment as its reporting teams covered political developments, natural disasters, and armed conflicts. That was part of Turner's legacy, too. Turner married and divorced 3 times. Wow, only 3? His third marriage was to Hollywood and fitness star Jane Fonda in 91. He also took on lots of debt and investors to make ambitious deals at a time when his main rivals, including Murdoch, were launching all news cable stations. Eventually, it became too much. In 1996, Turner sold CNN and the rest of his company, Turner Broadcasting Systems, that's TBS on your local cable channels, to Time Warner for about $7.34 billion, a move he deeply regretted. A few years later, in 2000, Time Warner sold itself to AOL against Turner's wishes. The AOL deal is considered one of the worst mergers in U.S. corporate history. Turner has called it one of the biggest disasters that have ever occurred to our country. In 2001, his marriage to Fonda, a source of strength, ended, and shortly after that, he was completely out at AOL, separating from the company he'd spent a half a century building. I lost Jane. I lost my job there, Turner said in a 2012 interview on CNN's Piers Morgan Tonight. He added, earning laughter from Morgan, I lost my fortune, most of it, got $1 billion or $2 billion left. I lost my fortune, but I got $1 billion or $2 billion left. You can get by on that if you economize. Yet he demonstrated resilience. You carry on, and I found other things to do. Yeah. So, and this goes on like,
yeah.
He's in this America's Cup sailing competition in '77. Of course, finally winning winning a world championship with the Atlanta Braves. I actually remember that. Because it was the only one I ever remember Atlanta winning way back then. But yeah, an icon, a legend. But did he start something that he shouldn't have started? Should he have started a 24-hour news network? Because the reason I asked that is because if you have 24 hours of actual news, that's one thing. But when you got to fill, that's when the opinion pieces come in. Do you remember they were like the first network to bring in like on a regular basis, bring in the experts, right? For like 91, the Gulf War, they bring in the generals. Remember that? And they give their commentary and stuff. So it's like, it was news. And then, let's put some commentary in there. And then it just kind of like became 50-50. And now you don't really know.
Well, I think, I mean, news outlets have always made use of expert commentary. You're going to interview people. I mean, the interview is part of the journalistic process. But what you have, I think, in many cases, was the need to fill that time. The cameras were on. And it's not like radio where you can put music on, or radio where you could have a talk show host. You have a news talk station where people have callers calling in. That's not the way that TV was set up. And so you have to fill that space. And we see it now online, because now online is now the 24/7, and you have these so-called news outlets, media outlets that are just manufacturing or recycling stuff. Also, it leads to shoddy work, which was admitted in that piece by one of his people, that the work was often shoddy because you've got to fill it. Okay, where is it? It's not great work. The other thing I would bring up is that Ted Turner was also the guy who took World Championship Wrestling national. So then this was back in the day before when they had the old territories. Vince McMahon was kind of pushing that thing because his shows were on a superstation. Ted Turner's station was he had some superstations. And so we began to see his rival promotion to World Wrestling Entertainment back then, WWF, and that brought, that really captured the nation with the national storylines in wrestling, which you and I and many folks here have often pointed out clearly are being repeated in our political process. The same psychological tricks that make pro wrestling interesting are being used by politicians, even to the extent that an owner of WWE has been in both of Trump's cabinets.
That's right. Linda McMahon. She was, what is she, the Secretary of Education?
Education now. Before she was head of the Small Business Administration, and now Secretary of Education. Yeah.
WCW. Yeah, that takes me back. That's Ric Flair. Ric Flair was in there.
Yeah. Georgia Championship Wrestling. And then they were getting in with the North Carolina, Jim Barnett. And then Turner bought everybody out. And then he was really going. And for a while, they stole the clique. They took Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and 123 Kid, I forget his name, his real name, but they took them six pack and they brought them into WCW. Turner was spending a lot of money on that, and at the time Vince McMahon could not rival that, so he took that time to nurture his own talent, including Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock Dwayne Johnson. So that was happening over there while Ted Turner was putting a lot of money into WCW, spending a lot of money giving people health care, that sort of thing. Eventually it all fell apart. But for a while, it was a very interesting rivalry.
Yeah, I think didn't WWE eventually buy out WCW or something?
Yeah. They had that last. I actually watched it. I think it was a Bash on the Beach. I think it was Sting versus Ric Flair was the last WCW match, and then Vince McMahon took over, and it really got consolidated. And at that point, a lot of the older promotions that were really quite good were dead. World Class was dead. The American Wrestling Alliance was dead. All of that, they were dead, and you basically had the WWE and then very tiny, smaller promotions. And they've had some promotions that have come back a little bit. The Jarretts have done some stuff, but it pretty much became Vince McMahon's game.
R.I.P. King. I could talk about wrestling all that because I used to watch Mid-South Wrestling. I guess
Mid-South was the best.
Mid-South, yeah, that's where you got Junkyard Dog, Ted DiBiase, Hacksaw Jim Dugan. I actually got to meet him at Comic-Con one time. A big guy, huge hands.
Yeah,
huge hands. I mean, I've got pretty decent sized hands, but these are like Trump.
These guys are, yes. Dr. Death, Steve Williams. I remember when Bill Watts took it over and turned it into the Universal Wrestling Federation, and he was doing great stuff with that. It just unfortunately that also petered out. The money just wasn't there. The writing was on the wall at that point in wrestling that it was going to be WCW and again WWE/WWF. Yeah. And then it took another, I think, around 10 years or so. No, about more like 15 years for WCW to say, cry uncle and hand it on over to McMahon.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, they got tagged out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. So, yeah, breaking news. I guess we should have like a little breaking news thing or something on here. So, good job there.
Right now, we got the Clownfish School, which it's suitable.
Oh shit! I didn't mean to put that up. I mean to put this up if I can get my mouse to work. There we go.
There we are.
You know what? I hit the wrong thing. Told you. I told
story
Lainey,
of my life.
I told Lainey today is starting off to be a peach of a day with everything going wrong. So, okay, hold on, folks. We'll see where the day goes. So the guy who all these assassination attempts on Trump have just been
talk about a clownfish school. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. My apologies to Ted Turner. I didn't mean to have the clownfish thing up while he was doing that. So but yeah, so I guess it's his fourth. This is his fourth attempt on his life, I think. Attempt, as I do that. Well, the man, the recent dude, he's been indicted on federal charges. A 4-count federal indictment has been issued against Cole Allen, the man accused of trying to kill Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The indictment by a federal grand jury was announced Tuesday, which was yesterday, by U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office. Allen is now formally charged with attempting to assassinate the President of the United States, assaulting an officer or employee of the U.S. with a deadly weapon, transportation of a firearm and ammunition in interstate commerce with the intent to commit a felony, and discharging a firearm during a crime of violence. The jaywalking charge was dropped. Today's indictment underscores they're like, we don't enforce that. Today's indictment underscores a simple truth. There is evidence this defendant intended to assassinate the president and that he shot a U.S. Secret Service officer as he traversed the country with a cache of ammunition to accomplish his goals, Pirro said in a statement. No hyperbole there. The indictment comes a day after Allen was in court. U.S. Magistrate Judge Zia Faruqi, that's a cool last name, Faruqi, held a hearing Monday afternoon to discuss the treatment of Allen in jail, which he described as seemingly unprompted solitary confinement over several days. The judge apologized at the beginning and at the end of the hearing in response to Allen being held in the safe cell, which he said was tantamount to solitary confinement. The judge added that pretrial detention is not meant to be punitive. Well, yeah, right, because you haven't been convicted yet, so there shouldn't be any
due process is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, unless this is like a Cardassian court where they already find you guilty. Sorry, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine reference. Investigators believe Allen plotted for weeks ahead of the attack at the Correspondents' Dinner on April 25th. Starting on April 6th, Allen began researching the White House Correspondents' Dinner records show, including several online searches about where the event would be held and who would be in attendance. Sometime before April 21st, prosecutors said Allen purchased a one-way Amtrak ticket from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. Investigators said while on that trip, the accused gunman continued searching for articles about the event, including details of the speech the president was set to deliver. On April 25th, the day of the event, prosecutors said Allen used his phone to keep tabs on Trump's schedule and when he would be arriving at the event at about 8:30 p.m. Nearly 30 minutes prior to the attack, investigators said Allen took a picture of himself with multiple weapons visible on his person, which I believe is this up here. Yeah, that's this all stuff there. So he went to the terrace level of the hotel and discarded a long jacket that had been covering his shotgun. Documents show he then sprinted through a security checkpoint. Yeah, I remember that video. That which is AI, by the way. We'll talk about that in a second. Please. Blowing past a metal detector and multiple Secret Service agents. Investigators said Allen fired one shot from his shotgun and an agent returned fire, shooting off 5 rounds. Allen was not hit by the gunfire, but fell and was subdued by multiple agents, according to the document. One agent was hit, but was wearing a bulletproof vest and is expected to be okay. His next court appearance is going to be May 11th. So, yeah, so here we are. So that was like the details of the actual event. So he's been indicted. I just don't believe it. I just don't. You know, the first one I was like, oh. The second one I was like, The third one I was like, what? And then this one I'm like, I don't know. So the video I'm talking about, I should have pulled it up. But there's video of him. It's like from a security camera in a corner. You can see him running down the hall past the metal detector and all that. When he's at the end of the hall, though, it looks like he's holding up a piece of paper, right? This is the hallucination, the AI hallucinations thing that people were seeing in the Netanyahu videos. It's the same thing here. It's like he was holding up a thing and then he starts running and then it turns into a gun. That's all I'm saying. I'll put that out there, and if people want to believe that, that's fine.
I'm going to check that out. You send that over to me later on, Uncle Warren. I'd like to check that out. This, this is a Trump. All of this is troubling. But what I understand is that this guy, people who have known him have said that this is not, he's something radicalized him at some point. That this guy's actually quite intelligent. He's a graduate from Caltech. And I was reading a ultra right-wing blogger was writing about this and said, look, Caltech, as he put it, it's not a DEI school. You get in on the strength of your intelligence and that's it. And made this very, very clear that, okay, this is an extremely intelligent man, talented, intelligent man who did this. I don't know if we're all just going insane, which is always a possibility. But this is not, it was not a well-executed plan. I don't know why he was carrying knives.
You're right. It was not a well-executed plan. I see what you did there. You may not have known you did it, but you did it. Right. Yeah.
You found me out, Uncle Warren.
I mean, the AI video. I mean, the guy was pretty brilliant. I think he worked at JPL too, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Yeah, that's
out in
Caltech,
Pasadena. Yeah.
And
So,
Jack Parsons was part of that, and he was the occultist with Aleister Crowley and L. Ron
Barbara
Hubbard.
Bush's daddy. That's our Aleister Crowley. You ever see that video? It's like Crowley, and then they show Barbara Bush, and it's like, holy shit, Crowley. She looks like Crowley with a wig. I'm telling you. All right. I gotta get off of that stuff. But yeah, it was. And when it comes to Trump and these assassination attempts, of course, you always have to take it with a grain of salt, because with Reagan, when Reagan was the last one to get a pop at him, and he got shot in the chest.
I remember it. Oh, I remember it. Yeah, I remember it very clearly.
Yeah.
And I remember Dan Rather swearing on air, damn it, let's get it right. Because they were reporting that he was dead and then he wasn't. And Dan Rather swore on the air. And that was something back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were dropping F-bombs back. You didn't say damn on the air.
You barely said damn on like regular like TV shows and stuff.
You barely said damn in real life. Yeah. I mean, what we've come to in our daily discourse, whether media or in person, has changed completely. And this is a history lesson for you youngsters out there. But when Dan Rather said damn on the air, I nearly fell off the sofa.
Yeah, my dad was just like, whoa. This is what TV's turning into, bunch of potty mouths. Like, yeah, I guess so, Dad. But yeah, I mean, because as a news anchor, you're not supposed to show emotion, right? You're not supposed to be like a Vulcan. We're another Star Trek reference too. Two in one show, bang. But I mean, at the same time, you're supposed to be this professional presenter.
Yeah.
But you're also human. And when you don't know if your country is in the balance or not, you tend to get a little emotional there. So I don't blame him for that. But he was also one of those like, hold the door, here comes Charlie. We got another thing, another news item here. Bar the door, and here comes Katie with a milk bucket, and he'd like say all this folksy shit. And you're like, what?
Well, he was the correspondent, the man on the ground at the Kennedy assassination. Yeah. And he was reporting to Walter Cronkite, who was, of course, the anchor. And what you did see Walter Cronkite do during that hour, it was like an hour and 5 minutes, the broadcast, from the time that they were able to get him on air, which took a while because they had to warm up the cameras until it was confirmed. But you see him taking his glasses on and off. He's trying to hold it together. And he had to, he couldn't touch grass literally, but he could touch glass.
You could touch glass, not grass.
Yeah. And he was taking his glasses on and off, just trying to stay under control. So.
And that was fairly early in his career too. And then 9/11, and he was on the air for that too. Yeah, he was one of the first people to say that looked like a controlled demolition, and they were like, Ixnay on the Control K demolition day. Anyway, we could talk more about that. We should probably just do a whole show about like old broadcasters and stuff like that.
That would be a fun series. We can pull them up. Maybe do it on a Friday or a Saturday night. Not too late. Folks can pull out some popcorn, and we can just kind of go through them and talk about them.
Yeah. So Trump is digging deep into his bag of tricks as he's suing Denver over its 1989 assault weapons ban. He's like picking things out of a hat going, okay, Denver's assault weapons ban. Let's go after that. Trump administration sued Denver and its police department yesterday, seeking to strike down an assault weapons ban that's been in place for Colorado's largest city since 1989. You can go away. We know Ted's dead. You don't have to keep telling us. Stop reminding us. It still hurts. The lawsuit came a day after city officials publicly rejected calls by the Department of Justice to repeal the longstanding local ordinance that makes it a crime to possess assault weapons. Trump's Republican administration alleges the ban violates the Constitution's Second Amendment right to bear arms. The administration also is threatening to sue Colorado over a statewide ban on large capacity ammunition magazines adopted following a 2012 mass shooting at a movie theater. Yeah, I remember that. Talking about, it was Aurora. That was Aurora, Colorado. And talking about the ammunition, he had like a giant magazine on there, lots of bullets. Fake assassinate me. The Constitution is not a suggestion. Wait a minute. The Constitution is not a suggestion, and the Second Amendment is not a second-class right. Well, the First Amendment is not a suggestion either, but you jackasses don't seem to like that. But anyway, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said in a statement on Tuesday, Denver's ban on commonly owned semi-automatic rifles directly violates the right to bear arms. Department of Justice attorneys had asked the city last week to stop enforcing the ban and enter negotiations with federal officials to resolve the matter, but Denver's mayor and police chief during a Monday news conference forcefully rejected the Trump administration's request. Our answer is hell no, Mayor Mike Johnson said. No, we will not roll back a common sense policy that has kept weapons of war off of the city streets for 37 years. No, we will not put first responders at greater risk every time they respond to a dangerous incident. No, we will not go back to a time when folks are worried about walking into movie theaters or grocery stores or public elementary schools. The assault weapons ban was enacted during a period of heightened concern over gun violence in the city. There have been numerous mass shootings elsewhere in the state in the years since. Of course, there was Columbine in 99 that killed 14 people, the Aurora movie theater attack that killed 12 people, 2021 shooting at a supermarket in Boulder that killed 10 people, and a 2022 attack at an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs that killed 5 people. But not Denver. Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas said he joined the department the year the city's assault weapons ban was adopted, and having it in place has helped address gun violence. Of 2,100 guns recovered in the city last year, fewer than 2% were assault-style weapons, Thomas said. Federal officials said in their lawsuit that Denver's ban includes AR-15 style rifles owned by at least 16 million people in the country. Government attorneys described them as ordinary semi-automatic rifles used for lawful purposes. They probably should have put that part in quotes, including but not limited to self-defense. Justice
What are
Department
the other uses?
Baseball. That, or you can like, hey buddy, you can like poke somebody from far away. Hey buddy, hey, you know, I can make a brooch. I can make a pterodactyl.
Yes, it is true. Actually, it was a girl who was it was a school shooting, and it was a girl who shot up the school. And when asked, she said, "I don't like Mondays," and that's how they got the song.
Oh wow! Yeah. Hey Jackie, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for showing up.
Kate's in here too. What's up, Kate? Good to see you. I know the CBC voters slipped in there. Good to see you and Willie. All right, I think we got caught up. If I missed you, we'll aim better next time.
But not with an assault rifle.
Yeah, exactly. No, just with my eyeball. That's it. Justice Department attorneys have made similar claims about the Colorado law banning large capacity magazines, which the state Supreme Court upheld in 2020. In an April 28th letter to state officials, the administration threatened to file a lawsuit. The old lawsuit. Unless the state stops enforcing the law and agrees it's unconstitutional. Law-abiding Americans own literally hundreds of millions of magazines identical. What? Literally hundreds of millions of magazines? Who the hell? What is this? Red Dawn? To those banned in Colorado, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon wrote. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser said in a response that firearms with large capacity magazines are a major threat to public safety. Weiser said in a statement that the ban was reasonable. Large capacity magazine laws are responsible policies that decrease the deadly impacts of mass shootings and save lives, he said. So this is probably going to be one of those things that's going to end up, almost pressed the wrong button there, end up in the Supreme Court, right? Mm-hmm. So this is and I'm pretty sure this is where Trump wants this thing to go. I'm guessing it's not like, he's playing 5D chess or anything here, but him suing Denver is going to put it in the court. They'll lose, and then they'll appeal, and then they'll appeal, and then they'll finally get it to the Supreme Court, and then we're going to get our big Roe v. Wade assault weapons ban edition, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that's what's going to happen?
I don't know what to expect from this administration. I am continuously fascinated by the flip-flop between what was previously states' rights versus federal, the federal government's rights of the federal government, and the way this is flip-flopped. And when you've got local governments and states who are actively combating what the federal government is doing and how that used to be perceived as a right-wing thing, and that now that has shifted into being a centrist or left-wing thing. It's fascinating to me. And as for this, I think this is, again, I think it's another distraction. And I think it's a way for this administration to flex its muscle and signal to so-called alpha males and their handmaidens that their guns are safe, at least for now.
Yeah, I mean, I hear these arguments like, well, we need to have our weapons because the government's going to start cracking down on us. Well, the government's already doing that now. What are you doing? You're sitting at home watching Fox or whatever. You're not doing shit. The thing
Very good
is,
question from Chuck here. Where are all the militias that want to fight tyranny? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're sitting there watching Fox News. They're not doing shit. They're all talk. They're no action. They're not going to do anything about this. And with this going on, if you don't, you can ban as many guns as you want. If you don't fix the base layer problem that's causing these shootings, people are just going to find guns somewhere else or 3D print them or whatever. You have to get to the root of the problem, and the root of the problem is not the guns. Guns don't do shit. They just lay there until somebody picks them up and pulls the trigger. Yeah. The guns ain't the problem. It's the people, and you got to help fix the people. If we had free mental health care in this country, maybe that people
actually had some trust in their government. Everybody, suddenly there was howls of indignation that Alex Preddy had brought a gun, a legally owned firearm, which he had every right to have, to a protest. Why might a registered nurse who was considered to be an exemplar of his profession by everybody who knew him, why would he feel a need to do that? Well, maybe because there was a bunch of jackbooted thugs showing up.
Yeah.
But the howls of the supporters of those jackbooted thugs, well, why did he have a gun? We could ask, that's a good question. Why might he have a gun?
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted to resist tyranny?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's why I say they're all talk. Because when somebody actually has a weapon and they get busted, they get murdered basically, and they've done nothing wrong, that's when they're like, zip, I'm not saying a damn thing about this.
Yeah, and exactly, didn't Marcus from the political matrix say that the arms that civilians have won't make any difference to fight against tyrannical governments because they have drones? He may very well have said that, and we're going to be talking about that a little later in this show. Also, folks, if you have not been over to Marcus's channel, yesterday he did a fantastic short stream about Banksy's latest artwork, what may be Banksy's latest artwork. And he kind of went over some of Banksy's artwork in that show. It was real pleasure to actually hear Marcus talking about art and its meaning in activism. And it's worth checking out. Get on over to the Political Matrix and check that out. I strongly urge you to do so.
Yes, please do. He's a friend of the show, obviously,
Good person.
and a good person. And he puts him and Teal on Sunday evenings when it's not football season, Saturdays when it is. But they always put on a good show, and their chat is top notch too, as well. Well, we talked about having free mental health care. How about just regular health care, right? Why does it have to be such was it who's the guy that was rolling the boulder up the hill and it kept falling back? Is it Sisyphus? Was that the guy? It seems like it's one of those things. We roll the boulder up the hill and then it falls back down on us when we're trying to get just health care. Not color TVs, not Lamborghinis, not like PlayStation
assault
5.
weapons.
Not assault weapons, health care, right? 900 health facilities shutting down or at risk of collapse as GOP cuts ripple across the country. So an advocacy group tracking the impacts of the unprecedented Medicaid cuts that congressional Republicans and Trump enacted last year said Monday that at least 900 hospitals, nursing homes, and other healthcare facilities are now shutting down or at risk of closure, a disaster for low-income Americans who lack easy access to care. This has been happening out in the rural areas too. Rural hospitals been closing for decades. Protect Our Care's Hospital Crisis Watch project has identified healthcare centers that have closed or at risk of closing, cutting services and shutting down wards as they grapple with the impacts of the GOP's 2025 budget law, which included over $1 trillion in total healthcare cuts over the next decade. Yeah, we don't need the cuts. We need the funding. More than $900 billion of the cuts will come from Medicaid, which pays hospitals and other providers for services delivered to low-income patients. Hospital Crisis Watch has now reached 900 pins, 900 communities where access to care is evaporating as Republicans' healthcare cuts ripple across the country, said Brad Woodhouse, president of Protect Our Care. Providers are stretched thin, doing everything they can as resources disappear, and the system buckles under the pressure of Republicans cutting more than $1 trillion from healthcare to fund tax breaks for billionaires and big corporations. Families are driving further for care. Parents are scrambling to find services for their kids, and seniors are being left without the support they need. He continued, care is getting harder to access, in too many places disappearing entirely, and communities are left to deal with the consequences. That's right. It's always the people that get run over like that. The impacts of the cuts have been felt in both urban and rural areas, despite Republicans' inclusion of a $50 billion rural health transformation fund that supporters touted as a way to bolster at-risk healthcare facilities. Yeah, they don't seem to be working. Critics of the fund have warned from the start that it would not be nearly enough to offset the devastation caused by massive Medicaid cuts. The Trump GOP law includes an estimated $137 billion in cuts to Medicaid in rural areas. Right? In Nebraska and other states, rural hospitals are facing across-the-board cuts, and the Rural Health Fund Congress created to offset the impact of Medicaid cuts on rural health care is falling short. Adam Searing, an associate professor at Georgetown University McCourt School of Public Policy Center for Children and Families, said, what is quickly becoming clear, even at this early stage, is that as a result of the cuts enacted by Congress, healthcare is going to become much harder to access for many people. Wrote Searing. It already is at this point.
Yeah.
Rural areas and small towns across the country will be particularly affected. The latest assessments of surging healthcare facility cuts and closures across the U.S. came as Nebraska became the first state to implement the punitive work requirements that the 2025 Republican law imposes on some Medicaid recipients. Punitive work requirements for Medicaid. Aren't you just supposed to, you paid into it? That was your punitive, that was your punitive work. You put money in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, Medicare was the one that people directly put that in.
Medicare, yeah.
Medicaid, yeah. I mean, still people are paying taxes that go to Medicaid. So, I mean, the idea is that there's supposed to be a safety net. And the idea of putting work requirements for people who are already sick.
Early estimates indicate that more than 20,000 Nebraskans could lose Medicaid coverage due to the stringent work requirements and the procedural hurdles the new mandates entail. Yeah, because Medicare itself is not enough. You have to have some sort of supplement to it. States must implement the new work requirements by the start of next year. Everyone who is eligible for Medicaid will be at risk of having their health coverage taken away, whether or not the work requirement applies to them, and whether or not they prove their compliance or exemption status. If it does, because the administrative burden of implementing the work requirement strains a state's entire Medicaid system. Farah Erzuki, a senior policy analyst at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, warned last week, without sufficient time and guidance, states will be unable to implement these requirements without harming many more eligible people, and millions will lose coverage. Once again, just
Your
like
government
SNAP,
at work.
this is punishment.
It's punishment. It's humiliation. The other thing I'm going to point out is that they're shutting down mental health care clinics. We saw what happened in Chicago when that happened under Rahm Emanuel. That all the clinics were being shut down, and there were people on the streets who were in some cases. The only way they could get any kind of treatment, if it was available, was to be arrested and put into Cook County Jail. And I think that people need to keep that in mind, that if you are, if you continue to criminalize various types of behavior and take away the antidote to that behavior, which in many cases is appropriate mental health care, we're going to be paying for it anyways. It's going to be paid for within the criminal justice system. And by the way, they are only obligated to give bare minimum health care in the criminal justice system, but there's lucrative contracts to be had with the providers of that care. And so again, the money lines the pockets of those who are profiting from the poor. We talked about this last week when Ellen Jimerson was on our show, and we were talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center and the real problem with the whole not-for-profit racket, where there's a whole lot of money coming from people, oftentimes with well intentions, and it's lining the pockets of the people who operate these charities and these not-for-profits, and somehow it doesn't really make it into the pockets of the poor or the oppressed.
No, and that is probably by design. Yeah. We talk a good game, but in reality, it's not going to happen. So apparently, you have the high prices of medical costs and stuff like that, but there's also the food prices too. In particular, beef prices have skyrocketed. And I'm going to play this video for you. This is Justice Department investigating meat packers amid record high beef prices from WMUR out in New Hampshire. It's about a minute and a half, well, almost 2 minutes, but it gets the point across better than I can just reading this thing. So let's take a listen. Let me know if you give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. I forgot to ask you this earlier.
Last fall, President Trump accused meatpacking companies of driving up beef prices through, quote, illicit collusion, price fixing, and price manipulation. Now the Justice Department is following through on his calls for an investigation.
We will use every law enforcement tool available to help reduce food prices and vigorously enforce the antitrust laws.
The DOJ now digging into 4 companies that control about 85% of the beef processing market.
As ranchers face fewer options for selling their animals, the Big Four grow stronger and stronger. These companies now have an unprecedented ability to wield market power.
But there's currently no evidence that big packers are abusing market power to drive up beef prices, according to agricultural economist Daryl Peel.
There's been no significant change recently in the level of concentration in the industry.
Industry stakeholders have said that one problem driving price spikes is cattle inventory, currently at its lowest level in decades, in part due to recent drought conditions. Those supply challenges coupled with high demand.
Strong consumer demand for beef is the leading economic force for why we have higher prices.
The latest numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, analyzed by our Get the Facts data team, show ground beef prices are near record highs at $6.70 per pound on average, up about 16% compared to last March. So will shoppers see relief anytime soon?
We are hopeful that those prices will start coming down this summer, this fall.
I expect them to go higher. I expect high prices to remain for the foreseeable future.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said that this investigation is part of a broader effort to address anti-competitive behavior in the food supply market. He said that later this week, they'll be announcing what he described as a historic settlement that he says will directly impact the price of proteins like pork, chicken, and turkey. Reporting in Washington, I'm Jackie DeFusco.
Yeah. So the high price. So this seems like some sort of like deflection. It's like, well, yeah, we're gonna set the Department of Justice there's collusion with the meat prices. It's like,
yeah, I mean, I think there are several things. I know that the meat packing industry had some real issues during COVID. That there was some, because there was a high rate of transmission in those places, and I remember that being an issue. You've also got the crackdown on immigration. And again, there's a lot of immigrant people from immigrant communities work in these meatpacking facilities. And they're also agricultural workers, and the agriculture is already having its own set of problems because of the droughts that were brought up there. So maybe they're trying to deflect from the fact that their own policies have made it, have impacted the ability to produce these meats. The other thing I'd bring up right now is protein is a really big issue right now with the GLP drugs. People who are on those drugs need to keep their muscle mass up, and eating protein is one way of doing that. And ground turkey is an option. Of course, there are vegan and there are plant-based options as well. But beef is very tasty. It can be very satiating. It's not as easily digested. And you can get some of these 96% lean ground beef. It frankly, if it's good, it's good. It's very tasty. You can make great stuff with it. And it's extremely satiating. And the calorie count is down to things like poultry because it's so lean. So there's going to be, I think that there's some market factors there as well. But I think, again, the drought conditions, as well as what might have been, is the loss of workers. I would be wanting to look at that loss of workers when it comes to deciding who's to blame for these high prices. But yeah, I mean, you go into any store these days, first of all, groceries are just out of control. The pricing there. I've become the expert at identifying stuff that's off, getting ready to go off, or it's clearance. I look for those yellow labels that tell me that this is being priced to go out the door, because that's where it is right now.
I just find that whole story fascinating, in the fact that they don't really care about antitrust laws when it comes to like media or anything like that. But when it comes to meat packers, oh, wait, we got to get on those antitrust, which leads me to believe there's something underneath that is not being talked about. Like you said, the lack of workers because of ice raids. They mentioned in the video that there's been droughts too. And it's like, why aren't you taking these factors into consideration? The ice thing, they're definitely not going to say, oh, that's a factor, because they're the ones doing it.
Yeah.
They're the ones that's causing the problems with lack of workers and stuff, like not just in meat packing, like in farming and stuff like that too. So it's like, where did all the workers go? Yeah, well, your government chased them away. That's and you voted for them. Good job, guy. Because a lot of those farmers are like Republican, and careful what you wish for when it comes to that kind of stuff. Speaking of careful what you wish for, careful when you want technology, technology can be great. We can help us in our lives and stuff like that. But the technology today is very scary indeed, especially flying above our heads. So let's get to the catch of the day, Lainey. Let's talk about the drones, and more drones.
I think this is not normally my wheelhouse, but every once in a while I get a bee in my bonnet and they go bzzz, kind of like drones do. And I've been hearing more about them lately. And I wanted to just take a quick look and see how a technology that I think a lot of us don't pay a lot of attention to is impacting our day-to-day lives. And we're going to look at several different places here with that. The most obvious, of course, being the current Iran war. And the fact that we've said that Iran may not be capable of meeting military might of its attackers, but it can sure make things painful. And one of the fascinating things here is that they have this very effective Shahad drone that costs $35,000 to $50,000 up against, say, what was it? Something like a 2 million Patriot missile.
Yeah.
And very simply, this is a form of economic warfare, in addition to being very effective in many cases, but it's turning into a means of economic warfare. Somebody once, I heard recently, pointed out that the first American Civil War was not so much just won on the battlefield as it was by sheer economics. Lincoln found Sherman, who was willing to go through and wage economic warfare on the South. He starved them. He destroyed their wealth. He destroyed their economy. He starved them out, and there it is. And with these drones, it's just fascinating. Iran is rapidly starving out the Israeli and the U.S. military capabilities, just because they're effective, they work, they're damaging, and they're comparatively cheap, and they can keep bringing them. They can keep making them.
Yeah.
So I mean, I found this really interesting article, Uncle Warren. You just brought it up, but it's an interesting source. Kua. I'm not sure if that's how it's spelled, but essentially, what is happening is that this is not a difficult thing to produce, these drones, and they're proving to be cost effective.
Yeah. Well, when I've been covering this on my other show too, the fact that when this war started, that's all Iran was putting out was like the cheapy stuff. And the cheapy stuff that they were throwing at Israel and these other places. And and like you said, Israel and the U.S. throwing up these $1 million interceptors to stop these $35,000 to $50,000 drones. You're definitely winning a war on a budget at that point. But please continue.
And I'm not particularly sure that these are that difficult to manufacture. I mean, if you're dealing with some very advanced defense systems or weapons systems where you're dealing with nasty things like nuclear radioactive material, you don't have that. Right. And they can go anywhere, and they can be maneuvered easily in and out, and people may not even really know what's approaching them. And so here we are, and this is, I think, when we're talking, I think we've been caught sleeping at the wheel. If we're making up this military budget in building big boats and big planes and big bombs, and big, beautiful bills that pay for all this stuff. Yes, they are absolutely winning the war on propaganda front. Absolutely. I'm loving the creativity and ingenuity of these good people. They're fantastic human beings. I love the Persians. They're wonderful. But here we are. So first of all, I think that we've been caught asleep at the wheel. Money that could be going to provide healthcare in this country is going to increasingly ineffective systems because we're just being completely outgunned by a much more cost-effective option. So that is, that kind of, that starts things. But then we start moving into other ways that drones are impacting our lives. And one is surveillance. And surveillance by private organizations as well as law enforcement organizations. And by the way, if you are not subscribed to our Substack, I would encourage you to do so, because I have a lot more in the way of sources for you to check out. I'm going to put this into the comments. Check out our Substack, subscribe. It's free, always will be free, and you can check out more information about this. So again, this is when it comes to domestic use. This is where it gets interesting, because they are low cost. There's a demand to use them for surveying urban populations, rural populations, but that leads to privacy considerations. It also leads to surveillance that would normally require a judicial warrant. You would have to get a warrant to do this kind of surveillance, but the laws in this country, or in many areas, have not caught up to that. No, because if you wanted to do aerial surveillance, it was a big deal. You would have to get a helicopter, much more expensive equipment. You would have people in there. You'd have to have a pilot, that sort of thing. There's a funny story. You ever see the film Casino?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's that one scene, it's a true story, where the FBI was trying to track some of the mobsters, and they were using a helicopter to do so. And at one point, the helicopter ran out of gas. They had to land the helicopter on the country club lawn, and the FBI agents the pilot were scurrying away. But that's what you had to do. That now you don't have to do that at all. Heck, a 14-year-old kid with a ham radio license. And by the way, yes, if you have a ham radio license, you can operate drones. Can do this sort of thing. Yeah, that's part of it. It's part of one of the privileges you have. I don't know if it's the entry-level license, but at one of the licenses, you can operate drones because it uses the radio frequencies. But so we're looking here at a level of surveillance that is now capable. We don't have the laws to catch up, and we oftentimes have a disinterested group of politicians who are willing to tackle this. You also want to consider that right now, when law enforcement is using these drones, usually they're not armed. The drones are just tracking people. And I can see the use. Let's say you have a kidnapping case where time is of the essence. You got to track somebody down. Okay, I can kind of get this. You got somebody who's gone into, you have a hostage situation. That could be quite helpful. But if you think about the possibility of using armed drones, and I can see that step happening very quickly, it's one thing for a law enforcement officer to have to make a decision to pull their weapon and use it. That's when you're on the other end of a drone. That's an entirely different experience than when you have the person right in front of you.
Yeah.
So I want us to think about that. As a culture, as a country, are we comfortable with that? Because these drones, they're dropping in price. They're all over the place now.
Well, in Gaza, just to add to that point too, in Gaza, they were using, or still are using, armed drones like that too. The smaller ones too, with some sort of explosive that has killed people in Gaza too. And so it's not a stretch to say that couldn't happen here at some point, the way things are going. But please continue.
And you might not know, for example, whether you see a drone, you might not know whether that drone is following you, who is operating that drone. It could be your Stalker X. You don't know, or whether it is being operated by a delivery company like Amazon or many of the other big retailers out there that are starting to use drones for package delivery. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for, if somebody needs their medication and they can't get to a store, drone delivery makes some sense. If you've got bad weather, or we've had a disaster and you need to get food to people in a rural area because they've had a wildfire and their grocery store is burned down, okay, fine, I'm all about this. But we're now getting some very unimpressive reports that the delivery drones are, in some cases, dropping the packages from 10 feet in the air.
Jesus.
Not only is that not good for whatever product happens to be in there, but there's some danger. I mean, to household pets, local wildlife, and human beings. It's typical Amazon or typical any major retailer. They're always trying to scale things and save costs, but we've got situations now where they're smashing packages by doing this. We're also hearing, though, from locals who are in these areas that are where they have delivery drones, saying that there's noise pollution, that they make this unpleasant hum or buzzing noise, and that is causing noise pollution in these areas. And again, that is, who wants to live with that?
I mean, unless you already live in a noisy place, you probably wouldn't want that. I would imagine.
Well, even if you are living in a noisy place, I mean, I can handle the sound of, say, for example, traffic, or a flock of runners by my house or something like that. But when you have that low, incessant buzzing, and when you start expanding the delivery service, when that's not just a once in a while thing, and you've got a bunch of these things, buzzing around, you're going to go nuts.
Yeah, because it would be like having somebody with a leaf blower, almost like 24/7. Like that.
Yeah. And that's going to drive you crazy. And there's already some areas that are trying to ban leaf blowers for environmental reasons, as well as noise and that sort of thing. So there's another possibility. There's another issue with drones, and do we really want them all over the place, doing things that people in cars and on bikes. And I think somebody was calling, what was it? There's a name some people have been using for the sky mopeds or something like that. Do we really want that? And we're moving down also, we've been talking about the use of drones as weapons. They could also potentially be used domestically for terroristic purposes. And even more scary, drones are relatively portable. It's not like you're trying to make off with a major weapon or a huge vat of chemicals or radiological material. And so recently we've had two drone thefts that we know of that have recently happened. One was agricultural spray drones in New Jersey. They have recovered the stolen drones, by the way, and nothing bad, ever happened. They were not used for anything. But this is obviously a major concern. If somebody is going off and stealing drones, those fall into the wrong hands, and they're not just being sold on a secondary on the black market, but they could fall into the wrong hands, and you could have a situation in which unpleasant individuals, or frankly even governments, could use them for terrorism or to wage some kind of covert warfare on a domestic population. And the question is also, where was the security here? You have a potentially deadly weapon, and nobody was paying much attention to it. Same thing happened at Fort Campbell, and the Army has ID'd the drone thieves. They were offering $5,000 for. They've resolved that as well. But the point is that they've had drone thieves there stealing drones as well. So these, because they're smaller, relatively benign, and they're not that difficult to operate. Again, you can do so if you have a ham radio license or know how to operate radios. You can learn how to operate drones. They even have drones for kids that they sell.
They have the little teeny tiny ones that you can get like practically anywhere now.
Oh, hey, Jackie, good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Much appreciated.
See you, Jack.
So we're kind of in uncharted. No, we are. We're in uncharted territory. We have now a technology that can undermine multi-million-dollar defense systems. And as well as weapons of war. we have this system that can be used by private industry in ways that may disrupt communities, that could be used by terroristic groups and get very easily used and obtained and manipulated by terrorist groups and, again, governments with ill intent. Are we ready for this? And because we can't even get the legislation to make reasonable restrictions. We are now in an area where a law enforcement agency or a government agency could use something for surveillance that would ordinarily require a warrant, but because there's no law about it, they can't. That cannot necessarily be used as a defense for somebody who's being targeted by the surveillance.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, you could have the creepy ex who's stalking you. It could be local businesses doing surveillance on people. Maybe it could be benign, just doing data research to help improve their stuff, but it's still surveillance.
And you don't know if they're using stuff and they're using something that they got a chip in there or something that's transmitting the information for use for data. What's happening with that data?
Mm-hmm.
Who's getting that data? How is that being used? Did the people that you're surveilling, did they intend for that to be the case? Remember when they started with Google Streets, Street View, and that people were saying, you've got people, you've got their cars, their license plate numbers, street addresses. People can just see them from the street. Maybe this is not a great idea. And Google did clean it up a bit, but it took a while.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot to go through and blur out license plates and people's faces too, because there were people on there too. You and I were talking before the show about the Amazon thing dropping the packages 10 feet or whatever, and I kind of came up with like, well, maybe it's because people are stealing those drones, so if it's 10 feet up in the air, that's why they're dropping. But that's not an excuse for that either, because
it isn't.
If you really want the drone, you could get it from 10 feet above your head.
Yeah. And yeah,
if you really want it.
Yeah. But it does raise something. If these drones were being stolen, again, now you've got this drone in somebody else's hands. They go in there, do what they need to jailbreak it. And they could be used for harassment. Think about the potential for harassment.
Yeah.
That somebody might have. And they say, well, I have to be, 20 feet away from this person. I can't get near this person, but can't help if my drone just happens to go down the street, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. And as long as they're unregulated in that sort, in certain places they are, right? Like in New York City, you can't fly drones there because of 9/11. Yeah. They won't let you do that. But I'm pretty sure the police there have drones that they can use. It's just you can't use them.
And the other thing is that they're running on these radio frequencies. Those radio frequencies can be jammed. And if ham radio operators are able to, they can be hacked, they can be jammed. And we've got 750,000, I believe, ham radio operators in this country. And we probably have a lot more people who aren't ham radio operators, but have the knowledge and the equipment to do that sort of thing. Think about the possibilities. And I'm not saying that they should be banned or anything like that. I'm saying this is what we've got. We are in uncharted territory. We might want to start thinking about it.
We might want to start thinking period.
Yeah, that could happen. Indeed.
Well, let's think about the recurring tide today as we look at stories we've been covering and updating. Of course, Ice Baby, one of those stories, and deplorable. ICE hires firm accused of torture to track down undocumented children.
Imagine that.
This is becoming like some sort of like an evil villain in a children's book or something like this. All this, let's get the torture people to track down the kids. So ICE has awarded a contract to a private security company that has faced accusations of torture and enforced disappearance, to assist in tracking down undocumented immigrant children who arrived in the U.S. alone, a contracting document shows. ICE has stepped up its work so much in pursuing these minors in the U.S. that it has contracted out some of its mission to a third party to put, quote, boots on the ground and locate immigrant children previously released from the U.S. government custody. The agency characterizes the work of tracing immigrant children who reached the U.S. without authorization and were released into communities while they go through immigration court proceedings as safety and wellness checks. ICE says it wants to confirm the children's location, school enrollment, and overall wellness, including checking for signs of abuse or trafficking, according to the contracting document. But an internal ICE document reviewed by The Guardian last year shows ICE actually runs the operations with the aim of deporting the children or pursuing criminal cases against them. Criminal cases against children or their adult sponsors sheltering them legally in the U.S. A critic at the time called ICE's efforts backdoor family separation. Accusations that ICE is targeting and arresting children are false and an attempt to demonize law enforcement, a DHS toady said on Friday. Rather than separating families, ICE asks parents if they want to be removed with their children or if the child should be placed with someone safe, the parent designates. Bullshit. Bullshit. Oh, I'm so sorry. I had some bullshit stuck in my throat. Now, as the program continues, the agency in mid-April gave a contract to a U.S. company, MVM Incorporated, to assist in carrying out such operations. MVM is a longtime security contractor based in Ashburn, Virginia, with about 2,500 employees and provides detention and transport services to federal immigration agencies. Previously provided security services to the CIA. MVM did not respond to a detailed request for comment by the time of the publication because they didn't have their lies ready to go, I guess. In 2024, MVM was sued by 2 Guatemalan fathers and their respective children in California federal court for alleged torture, enforced disappearance, and cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, to which ICE replied, "You're a perfect partner." That's according to the lawsuit. They didn't say that part. For the role it played in the family separation policy at the border under the first Trump administration that prompted widespread uproar. MVM physically took thousands of children away from their parents and transferred them to shelters, the lawsuit says. MVM transported and harbored these children using unmarked vehicles, commercial airlines, and makeshift detention centers. MVM asked a judge to toss the lawsuit, saying the company had openly denounced the family separation campaign, adding that since it was a private company, it should not be held liable for a U.S. government policy. Oh, look at that. It was them. It wasn't us. No, it was them. The 2 Guatemalan children, a 16-year-old and a 3-year-old, were separated from their respective fathers in 2017 with the substantial assistance of MVM, the lawsuit says. The case continues to move through the courts. In March last year, a judge dismissed some of the claims on procedural grounds, but allowed the case to continue based on the torture, enforced disappearance, and inhuman and degrading treatment claims. 18 different companies offered their services to ICE to assist in the wellness checks operation, according to a document posted publicly on a government contracted website. But the other companies that vied for the contract lacked the critical boots on the ground, child welfare, personal, and infrastructure needed to physically locate and conduct wellness checks on children, the document said. MVM, however, did appear to have resources ICE was seeking, according to a review of the document. The contract is supposed to run for 1 year. The amount ICE is paying MVM is redacted, along with a number of wellness checks the agency wants the company to perform. MVM contractors have zero immigration enforcement authority. This partnership, as part of the UAC Safety Verification Initiative, represents ICE's commitment to protect vulnerable children from sexual abuse and exploitation. The primary focus of this initiative is to conduct welfare checks on these children to ensure they are safe and not being exploited or abused, the DHS spokesperson added, using the official term for the program to conduct checks on children who immigrated to the U.S. unaccompanied and have been placed with sponsors. Last year, Trump administration began efforts to track down immigrant children who had entered the U.S. alone to request asylum or reunite with family members already in the U.S., Such children largely arrive at the U.S.-Mexico border and either turn themselves in or are apprehended by border officials. We don't even need ICE in the first place. We have Border Patrol and we have Immigration and Naturalization Service, INS. We've had those for years. Why did we need ICE? And now ICE is bringing in more deplorable companies to work with. This is just getting insane.
Yeah, emphasis on the
Yeah.
And again, there is an effective way to deal with violations of immigration law, and that is you go after employers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah. Why aren't they going after the employers? That's well, there's all this legal red tape. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, but you can just scoop somebody off the street. No problem. And screw their rights, but you're going to protect because they're business owners. That's
job
almost
creators. They're job creators.
They're almost like little deities. They go, we can't go against the small business. We can't go against these little. It's like, yeah, you can. In fact, you should. Especially if they're paying these people under the table. They're not paying them what they're worth, obviously, because these people are working really, really hard and getting pennies on the dollar. So
pennies on the dollar of what their employers are making. Let's make that very, very clear. Their labor has a lot of value, but they're only getting a fraction of the value of their labor.
Exactly. And a lot of them do it because the money's good enough to send home. That's the thing. They go to the United States, they work in the fields or wherever they're working, they come back home, then they do it again next year. This is the same thing over and over.
And oftentimes their home countries, unfortunately, have been destabilized. I'm not saying who destabilized them, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying who destabilized them either.
I remember when I used to work at the Mercantile Exchange. I didn't actually work for them, but the office was in their building, and we had effectively a little food outlet there, and they would make breakfast to order, and they had really good breakfast. And I remember watching the staff of cooks, many of whom were from Central and Latin America, and Mexico. I remember, it was just crazy, absolute pandemonium at 7 in the morning, 7:30, 8 in the morning, absolute pandemonium. And they're sitting there and they're making breakfast to order, omelets and pancakes and French toast. And they're doing this, everything's crazy. It's a hot kitchen. It's a tiny hot kitchen. They all had smiles on their faces. They all looked happy. I went and I talked to a friend of mine in the food industry, and he said, yeah, they're not getting shot at.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, oh, right.
Yeah, we're very appreciative to be in the country that destabilized ours.
Because here we don't get shot at.
Right. Yeah. But
now we've taken care of that. Now they are getting shot at, or they're getting apprehended, having their children apprehended. You see?
Yeah.
We leveled it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fair across the board now when it comes to that stuff. So, it's
yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
I get very emotional when it comes to that stuff, especially when like little kids getting separated from their parents and stuff like that.
It's torture, it's torment. I believe it violates the UN rights of the child. Of course, the U.S. has never signed on to the rights of the child, but the child has a right to be with his or her family. The idea of there is such a simple solution to this. You go hard against the employers, but nobody wants to do that.
No, because you know why? Because the employers are probably
upstanding citizens and job creators.
And also giving out money to politicians to, I donate to your campaign. You're going to take care of me, right? The thing.
We know how that works. Yes.
Well, meanwhile, Pope Leo and Trumpy have been going at it. And so, of course, Aquaman, Mark Rubio has to step in. I call him Aquaman because of he did a State of the Union response. I can't remember if it was, I think maybe it was Obama was president. And he's doing the response, and he's talking, and he reaches down and he grabs a bottle of water and chugs it. I'm like, hey, it's Aquaman. Boop, 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 boop. He just needs circles coming out of his head. Anyway, but enough of my silly fantasies. Rubio's going to hook it up with the Pope in wake of Trump's bullshit. Rubio will meet with Pope Leo the 14th. There's been 14 of them. Leo must be a popular name at the Vatican, and Italian officials in Rome this week, as Trump's confrontations with the church and Italian government have soured relations. God, who hasn't he soured relations with? Rubio's travel is scheduled for today through Friday. His meeting with the Holy See leadership, like Holy See, like he's got 10-10 vision or something like that. We'll discuss the situation in the Middle East and mutual interests in the Western Hemisphere, the State Department said in a statement. The secretary will also meet with Italian counterparts to focus on shared security interests and strategic alignment. Rubio, a Catholic, will meet the American-born Pope from right here in Chicago, following a bitter public row between Trump and the pontiff. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni came to Leo's defense and drew Trump's wrath. Of course, she's going to side with the Pope. She's Italian. That's like the home field. In early April, the pontiff expressed rare pointed criticism against Trump after the president, in a social media post, threatened to destroy Iran's civilization. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Pope would have a little something to say about that. The Pope called those threats unacceptable, and it's unacceptable to destroy a civilization. I mean, come on, please.
Bleeding hard over here. Come on.
And encourage people to contact their political leaders, congressmen, to urge peace and reject war. The Pope's remarks, coupled with a CBS News 60 Minutes segment highlighting the pontiff's earlier criticism of the Trump administration's mass deportation policy, triggered outrage from the president. Wow, there's a shock. Trump posted on his social media site, Truth Social, a long screed criticizing the Pope as weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy. He's the Pope. He's not a cop. Idiots. The president also posted an AI-generated image that was widely viewed as depicting Trump as Jesus healing a sick man, but he said he was a doctor, and then he removed it because he's an idiot. The public back and forth continued for over a week. So Meloni called Trump's remarks about Leo unacceptable. Trump responded that he was shocked by her comments and added, I thought she was brave, but I was wrong. The Italian leader, a European ally of Trump, had earlier distanced herself from the president in opposition to the U.S. and Israeli war on Iran. But don't worry, Marco Rubio is going to come in and probably make things worse.
So we're going to call him DDP.
DDP, dull demented potato. I'm not demented. I'm a Catholic. No, wait a minute. Sorry.
No, he's not. I don't think he is.
I don't know. I'm an atheist. I like trees. I like worshiping trees. I'm a druid. It'd be funny if Trump was a druid. Yeah.
I know an arch druid.
Do you really care if the Pope and Trump kiss and make up? I don't really get you.
I think that this is inevitable. I mean, I think this entire thing, I mean, he has picked fights with everybody. He just, has continuously picked fights with people. And now with the Pope. And when J.D. Vance came out there and said that the Pope needs to work on his theology, J.D. Vance was a Catholic convert 7 years ago. It's not even had a full decade in the church, and he's telling the Pope that the Pope needs to work on his theology.
He's like Bryan Cranston on Seinfeld, who converted to Judaism just so he could tell the jokes. That's how he became a Catholic, just so he could tell the jokes. Yeah, exactly. This is the level of intelligence that you have at the top levels of our government, and it's no wonder people are kind of sweating, to say the least, when it comes to that kind of stuff. And it's like you said, God knows what's going to happen in even the near future with the randomness that's going on with these folks. So, well, you know, Trump loves to go after fraud, right? You know, he's tough on crime, even though he commits most of it. But he's going after food fraud or food aid fraud. Trump administration claims food aid fraud, but critics say there's no evidence. That's the story of his whole thing. Every time he says something, there's no evidence. He never has evidence for him. There's a country that does that too. You know the one. Doctor, everything be all right. The Trump administration's attack on the 87-year-old food aid program that supports tens of millions of low-income Americans escalated last week as the Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, claimed that 14,000 SNAP recipients, included owners of luxury vehicles such as Ferraris, Bentleys, and Teslas. Yes. So the three people, a very minor number of people gaming the system, of course, let's do punishment for everyone, collective punishment. Critics charge that the broadside is part of a disinformation campaign aimed at undermining a benefit relied on by some of the most vulnerable people in the U.S. Rollins did not cite the unnamed state or where this data and its claims came from. But it went viral among conservatives on social media, with Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Rand Paul, Congressman Tim Burchett, and actor James Woods quoting the Post. Oh, Rand Paul, you had so much potential to be better, but you'll never be. The USDA, which administers this $57 billion program, would not comment on the record and would not verify Rollins' claims, which stem from an analysis by the Foundation for Government Accountability, an organization that has long advocated for cutting and reducing SNAP and other federal government benefits, also known as MFers. I'll keep it that way. I'll keep it PG. The report says its conclusions stem from 2023 data obtained by an unnamed contractor from an anonymous state. It does not provide any information on the alleged SNAP recipients or how their identities were matched to car registrations. Yeah, they pull this stuff out of their asses, and then they're like, because they know it enrages people. This is what they want to do. They want people pissed off and not thinking straight. The Foundation for Government Accountability would not provide its data or methodology and did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Gee, I wonder why. Congresswoman Jahana Hayes, ranking member of the Nutrition and Foreign Agriculture Subcommittee, said she was highly skeptical of the data. You think? First of all, if it were true, it would have been cited with the state. And what happened, Hayes said, I just don't buy the secretary saying that they have all this information as a gotcha moment, while not also simultaneously saying we plan to hold these people accountable for defrauding the system and taking food away from the people who really need it. Hayes said claims of fraud and abuse have often been made without evidence, and that cases of provable fraud should be prosecuted, not be used to cut and attack SNAP at the expense of people who need and rely on it. Exactly. What I just said, collective punishment for the actions of a strong minority. It's like voter fraud, right? The voter fraud happens is like 0.01% or something like that, of somebody pretending to be somebody else or somebody voting as a dead guy or something like that. It rarely happens, but who gets punished? Everybody gets punished because we have to have a voter ID over it because of the actions of a few. And we could debate that, but I mean, that's more or less what it is. And there's more to this here.
Yeah, and I have plenty to say on this particular topic.
Yeah, it's bullshit. That's my take.
These claims are designed to create outrage and to get people to feel better than the poorest, because not only are the poorest poor, but they're also scammers. So there it is. Now, here's the thing. Okay, first of all, even if they actually had the data on this, here's the thing. The fact that somebody has a quote unquote luxury car doesn't reflect their current financial status.
Right.
That may have been a gift. They may have had that car before they had job loss, or lost a lot of money. These things happen. There was an illness. People lose their good fortunes because they're sick or because their kids are sick. Number two, they're not discussing the condition or the age of these vehicles. I remember once when I was married to my second ex-husband, he had gotten himself a 20-year-old Beamer that he paid, $1,500 for, whatever it was. Now it was still running because it was a good car. Beamers are good cars, and they take a licking and keep on ticking.
Yeah.
But it was a hunk of garbage when we had it. He didn't pay that much for it. It was a good car while it lasted. But they said, my husband drives a Beamer. This person's driving a BMW. Okay, but it doesn't say anything about the
There's
age
no
of
context.
there's no context there. I also want to point something out. They're quoting Tesla here. They say luxury cars like Tesla. Here's the thing. Uber actually gives incentives to its drivers to finance or rent Teslas. I think it's up to $1,000 or something like that. They're actually incentivizing that. And one thing is I use Uber, not all the time, but I do use it. And I've often noticed a lot of Uber drivers have Teslas. And most people, there are folks out there who are just doing it to get out of the house and make a little extra money. But there are a lot of folks who are doing it because this is their primary source of income, and they are not making bank. But they got an incentive to rent a Tesla. So, there's a number, they're not taking any of that into consideration here. They're just using this as rage bait.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly, when you boil it down to it, you're making people pissed off. And I was talking to our buddy Ed about this the other night. I said, it's like whack-a-mole trying to, one lie pops up, you go to hit it, and then another lie, you got to hit that. And it's just like, that's all we're doing. Even as people like us who do shows like this, we're just watching and chasing lies, one right after the other. It, like I said, it's the theme of the Trump administration and the theme of a certain country overseas too, where it's like, we're going to say whatever the hell we want. Oh, do we have proof? Nah, but you can trust us. And it's like, no, I don't trust anybody without proof these days. Bring the proof, or STF.
And just stop this, because all you're trying to do is make people hate other people.
Exactly.
So they don't hate you.
Because if you can make somebody hate someone else, you can control them to do other things, like vote for shitty politicians that you want them to elect, or get them to do boycotts of certain places that don't need, it's a matter of grinding people down and then controlling them, right? What is it they call it? Order out of
distraction.
chaos. And it's a distraction
about a military that invests millions in weapons that are being outgunned by drones that cost a fraction of the price of your expensive stuff.
That's a good segue, because we're gonna get to the man of war stings right now, and part of that, of course, the war, the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran affects everybody, right? And including prices of gasoline. We've all seen it, and this may not be shocking to anybody, but gas prices 50% higher in the U.S. than before the war on Iran. Shocking, I know you're shocked. The price of a gallon of regular gas, they say petrol, but I'm not English. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna Americanize this. The price, we're gonna market
land of the free,
market,
home
get
of
your
the brave,
get your
high
flag.
gas prices.
Go buy your flag. Don't be a commie. You commie.
And don't fly other nations' flags upside down. Did you hear about that?
Well, no.
When King Charles was here, they had I think it was at Arlington Cemetery. They had a full visitation there, and they had the British flag upside down.
That means they're in distress. That's
well, yes.
Maybe it was
it was not the Brits that did this. It was the U.S. that did, and this apparently is something that the U.S. does with some consistency. So there it is.
Yeah. Don't screw up our flag, but we'll screw up your flag all day long. So the price of gas, the price of a gallon of regular gas climbed 31 cents in the past week, spiking to an average of $4.48 cents per gallon. That means it's going to be a little lower in some of the more rural areas, but in the big cities, it's probably like $6, $7, $8.
It is. That's what I've been
something like
hearing.
that. Yeah, double that almost. According to AAA, rising 50% since the war began. AAA's website listed the price at that rate as of today, despite Donald Trump's earlier pausing the military's Project Freedom operation. We'll talk about that in a second, to open the Strait of Hormuz. Because he's like, we're going to open the Strait of Hormuz. Oh, no, you're not. Zop, 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 zop. Uh-oh, we better turn around. I'm sorry. The global energy crisis caused by the war has sent the price of crude oil soaring. Crude oil is the main ingredient in gas. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage of the Gulf through which a fifth of the world's crude oil normally passes, has been blocked, with oil tankers stranded and unable to deliver the crude. Many U.S. drivers were hopeful in mid-April when the ceasefire was announced. Suckers. Amid signs of the conflict would be winding down, and petrol prices fell daily for almost 2 weeks. But as the war continued, petrol prices reversed course and began increasing again. And of course, it also had to do with Trump saying, well, war is over, the war is over. And then the oil prices come down, and I'm just kidding. And then the oil prices go up. So, of course, there's manipulation of the markets there. But, the gas for everyday people is bad enough. But now you're starting to see the truckers. The truckers are starting to feel the heat too, because of diesel prices, or they're higher than regular gas prices.
There. And it's people are hurting all over. I mean, I was hearing a woman on NPR this morning talking about this. She, it used to be that she was able to fill up her tank. It would last her for a good long period of time. Now she's paying, for that, for a half a tank. And she's paying the same amount, and it's really tough. I mean, she's working, but there's only so much she can do.
Yeah.
A lot of these folks, and they just don't have the option of taking on a second job. And you don't know how long you're going to have to do that. And people are suffering.
Hell, there's people still suffering trying to get a first job.
Yeah. And you've got the truckers out there, they're paying for this, and you got the logistics companies. And then again, this could also be, part of the reason why the price of beef is going up. Yeah. A lot of other things, the cost of just getting it from here to here, here to there.
Yeah. Because even though beef is not shipped over here, a lot of the stuff that has to do with like feed and the care and the medicines for your animals, your stocks and stuff like that, a lot of that stuff is imported. So you're going
to have to transport the beef once it's been finished and packaged. It's going to have to be transported to the stores, and cattle. They're moving cattle around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it all comes full circle.
Circle of life.
Yeah. So we told you about the ceasefire and this thing that Trump's like, all right, we're going to pause or whatever. So the ceasefire holds despite Hormuz standoff, according to Captain Haircut here. Look at this guy's hair. Jeez. That's some, what's his name? Who's the guy in California, the governor? Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, that's some Gavin Newsom hair there. I wonder if they go to the same barber. The ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran is still in place despite bursts of military action around the Strait of Hormuz. Pentagon chief and hairstylist Pete Hegseth tells reporters. He said yesterday that Trump will make the decision as to when the truce ends, signaling that Washington may be willing to tolerate some Iranian attacks during the push to open Hormuz before renewing the war. The defense secretary stressed that Washington's campaign to pry open the strategic waterway dubbed Project Freedom is not part of the broader U.S.-Israeli assault on Iran, codenamed Epic Fury. Epic failure. The ceasefire is not over. Ultimately, this is a separate and distinct project, and we expected there would be some churn at the beginning, which happened. Hegseth reported. We said we would defend aggressively, and we absolutely have. Iran knows that, and ultimately the president is going to make a decision whether anything were to escalate into a violation of the ceasefire. Monday saw the highest level of hostilities in the war since the truce came into effect on April 8th. Iran said it fired at U.S. Navy ships. The U.S. said it shot down 7 small Iranian military boats. And Tehran renewed its drone and missile launches against the UAE. A South Korean ship near Hormuz was also hit in a suspected Iranian attack. And there were casualties. 3 people were injured in the Iranian strike on the UAE's Fujairah petroleum industry zone. And Tehran said a U.S. attack on passenger boat in the Gulf killed 5 civilians.
Oh yeah.
A U.S. attack on a passenger.
Yeah, we like to attack people in their boats. We've been doing the summary execution thing.
Yeah, we do it right here at home.
Or on our side of the pond. So, it's just, spreading our love worldwide.
Come on down to the Caribbean, man. We blow up boats from the air. We don't care if you're innocent or not, man. More than 24 hours after the start of the U.S. push to break the Iranian blockade in Hormuz, traffic in the strait remains largely at a standstill. Ship tracking data shows. And just to point this out, there was a separate story about this. The Project Freedom was the escorting of ships through the strait, and now Trump has paused that for the meantime. He hasn't put a timetable on that. So yeah, Iran is saying, look, you want to screw around, you're going to find out. And like I said, they tried to get a boat to go through the Hormuz, and Iran shot at them. They had to turn around. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Who's running this joint? Why? It seems like the only adults in the room are the Iranians, right? Am I wrong?
And their little Lego figures, which I think are just so cool.
The Lego, they're killing the propaganda game with the Legos, right? They're doing everything right in this, right? They throw out the junk drones and stuff at first so that America and the United States can waste all their expensive interceptors. Then they come out with the hypersonics once all that's done, and then dum, 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 all over the Gulf area there. When they're showing you who they are, listen to them. They're not screwing around. And Americans aren't screwing around either now. It seems like at least 60%. As over 60% of U.S. citizens agree, the war on Iran has done more harm than good, which means 60% of the people are starting to finally wake up. Thank goodness. 6 out of 10 U.S. citizens disapprove of Trump's handling of the war against Iran, as rising fuel prices and a weakening U.S. standing abroad weigh heavily on the country, according to a new PBS NPR Marist poll published today, May 6th. May the 6th be with you. I know people say May the 4th be with you on Monday because they're Star Wars nerds. Disapproval of Trump's war rose from 54% in March, while just 33% say they approve of Trump's Iran policy. Those are people who live in bubbles and think that Orange Man good. The findings also indicated increasing unease among Republicans, while 72% continue to support Trump's bullshit. Disapproval has risen to 22%, up from 15% in March. So even the Republicans are like, this cult thing ain't really panning out the way I thought it would. I thought we'd get some good stuff, but nope, we're not. Public opposition to the illegal war of aggression was broader, with 61% of the U.S. Citizens saying U.S. military action in Iran has done more harm than good, including 25% of Republicans. Ooh, a quarter of Republicans saying, yeah, this war is dumb. While 38% of respondents said it has done more good than harm. Really? What good has it done? They didn't take out Iran. They took out the leadership, but they still have the leadership. They didn't put in a puppet. What did they get? Furthermore, the poll found that 62% of U.S. citizens believe the role of the U.S. on the world stage has been weakened by Trump's decisions, up from 57%. Among Republicans, 22% said the U.S. position globally has deteriorated, double the 11% recorded in January. So, yeah, it is starting to, the walls of deception are starting to come down for a lot of people. Economic conditions are adding to the pressure as 61% of U.S. citizens disapprove of Trump's handling of the economy, up slightly from March, while only 35% approve. The poll revealed that 63% of U.S. citizens feel the economy is not working well for them personally, and 56% believe their local area is either not very affordable or not affordable at all. Yeah, try living in a big city, and you'll see that tenfold. Gas prices have emerged as a primary source of frustration. We told you about that, with over 80% reporting that current prices are stretching their household budgets, including 33% who consider the strain to be major. Most respondents attributed the rise in energy prices to Trump. The poll shows that 63% assign a great deal or a good amount of blame to him, including 63% of independents and 32% of Republicans. Yeah, so, and these numbers are just going to get higher and higher as it goes. Trump wanted to wrap this up in a couple of days, and now here we are. Was it March, April, almost going on 3 months? So he thought in 3 days, and here we are almost 3 months, and nothing has been settled, and the people are getting pissed. And the midterms are coming. Midterms are coming. Ding, 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 ding. Midterms are coming. Yeah. Oops, you don't get that guy. Yeah, it's this wars are stupid anyway.
But
And,
you know,
yeah. And this one in particular is probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
So what do you think the October surprise is going to be?
At this point, the surprise is like Trump would be resigning. Would be like, what? Because I mean, it's like he's done so much bad stuff. If something comes up like, I think the October surprise is probably going to have to be focused against the Democrats, because they're the ones who are probably more than likely going to take over the House and the Senate. So somebody, they're digging up, they're trying their best, they're going to have ICE agents out at the voting precincts, right? They're already trying to trim the voter rolls, trying to get all these people to not vote Democrat, and various ways of pressure. And, they at least, these are the hardest working propagandists in show business, I think. Yeah. So
The surprise, he's going to try to cancel elections with Martian law.
Martian.
Actually, I mean, I could actually see him trying to rig up a War of the Worlds scenario. We're under attack.
His idea of War of the Worlds is throwing cherry bombs into a toilet and seeing if it explodes. So, we got more stuff. Let's get.
Yeah, we do.
Put on your swimmers. We're going to the press pool. Of course, it's all things Trump. It seems like today. Trump's FTC
This
going
is the
after
FTC,
Kimmel.
Federal Trade Commission.
Oh, that's right, not FCC. Sorry.
No, we're going to talk about them later.
Yeah. I see these letters and I get confused. So is Federal Trade Commission and targeting of progressive media watchdog fizzles. What? A plan of Trump's screwed up and didn't work? Wow. This whole show is just shocking me today. So the FTC's efforts to... Yeah, I know. Shocking. Oh, the FTC's efforts to target a progressive media watchdog have completely fizzled, according to a Monday press statement from Media Matters for America. For months, Media Matters has been embroiled in a legal battle with the FTC over the agency's investigation into the group. Media Matters has described the probe as retribution for its scrutiny of extremist content on the tweeters. As of Monday, the FTC has entered into a legal settlement with Media Matters, withdrawing its investigative demand and agreeing not to issue the same one again, the watchdog said. Media Matters described the outcome as a complete and total victory. The FTC did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Media Matters' win could provide a blueprint for other organizations that face similar actions from the FTC or other agencies in the Trump administration, one of its attorneys said. At issue in the case was whether the Trump administration's FTC could misuse the machinery of the federal government to investigate, exhaust, and ultimately silence the nonprofit watchdogs that hold government and powerful platforms accountable. Nathaniel Zelensky, no relation, or he might be, senior counsel at the Washington Litigation Group, said in a statement, although that seems to be That's his platform, is to investigate, exhaust, and ultimately silence people. Media Matters won legal decisions in the D.C. District Court and the D.C. Circuit that provide a roadmap for anyone who is similarly targeted. So Media Matters and other watchdog groups such as the ACLU of D.C. have argued that the FTC's inquiry into the media watchdog was an attempt to chill and punish free speech. The narrator says that's exactly what that was. In 2023, Media Matters published a report alleging that ads for 5 major companies had been placed next to pro-Nazi content on Twitter. After its publication, Elon Musk threatened a nuclear lawsuit against Media Matters for what he described as a fraudulent attack on the tech company. Musk sued the organization, and multiple states proceeded with civil investigative demands, which were preliminarily blocked in court. In May 2025, the FTC, led by Trump-appointed chair Andrew Ferguson, also issued a civil investigative demand of the group in order to look into whether it worked with other media watchdogs and coordinated advertiser boycotts of Twitter. As part of its inquiry, the FTC demanded that Media Matters disclose documents related to the Twitter lawsuit and its communications with other media watchdog groups. Media Matters sued the FTC, arguing that the investigation was a form of retaliation for its reporting on Twitter. In August last year, District Judge Sparkle Suknanan noted that the case presented, I can't get over the person's first name is, presented a straightforward First Amendment violation and issued an injunction of the agency's actions. The FTC appealed that decision, and the Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit heard oral arguments in mid-April. As Bloomberg reported, the FTC dropped its document requests of Media Matters and multiple other organizations in late April after settling an antitrust case with advertising agencies tied to the alleged ad boycotts. The agency has stated that Media Matters was not the target of any investigation. The group said, no, it wasn't them. Our victory shows the importance of holding power to account and the importance of fighting instead of folding. That person said. So yeah, that's the thing. You got to stand your ground, because that one of Trump's biggest weapons is the courts.
Right.
That's what he does. Sue.
But he has another weapon, and that's the regulatory agencies that, their heads are not democratically
that we're
elected.
Talk about here in a little bit. Yeah, exactly. So it's up to the people. Mm-hmm. It's up to these, obviously it's up to these media organizations to stand up for themselves, but we have to also help them stand up for themselves too, because it's a matter of free speech. Yeah.
And as we've been talking about, exhausting an institution or an individual or an organization or a country is a strategy that's very effective, like what Iran is doing right now, exhausting the U.S. and Israeli militaries.
Yeah.
And this can also work on this way. You just exhaust an organization. Finally, they're a shell, and there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to do what you can. Because once the Democrats take over in November, and they will, I think it's going to happen. You're still going to have Trump going after these people with his cabinet, with these people. Mm-hmm. So good on Media Matters, and mm-hmm. I hope it is a blueprint for others. Let's check out the Times. The Times is a little bit of hot water. The New York Times, the paper of record.
Yes,
Lainey,
the old gray lady.
The old gray lady.
Kind of like me.
For diversity. Stop it. You're not gray. You're not old either. You're very
that because I'm younger than you.
Exactly.
By 2 weeks. By 2 weeks.
That's right. You look great. You look like you're in your 30s. Now shut the hell up. We don't need to. We
you can talk to me all day, you silver-tongued devil.
Yeah, we don't have to put this back on me. That's fine. The New York Times was sued yesterday by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. That's the EEOC. For those of you who have the street lingo, which accused the newspaper of passing over a white man for a top editorial role because of his race and gender in order to meet what the agency viewed as illegal diversity goals. In a complaint filed in Manhattan federal court, the EEOC said the Times discriminated against the male candidate based on his race or sex, violating Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The reverse discrimination lawsuit reflects EEOC Chair Andrea Lucas's new approach to employment cases as the agency aligns itself with Trump's policies. Trump has attacked so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, that DEI, in business, and soon after beginning his second White House term, issued executive orders to end DEI in the federal government. The New York Times categorically rejects the politically motivated allegations brought by the Trump administration's EEOC. Times spokesperson Danielle Rhodes said in a statement, "Our employment practices are merit-based and focused on recruiting and promoting the best talent in the world. We will defend ourselves vigorously." Trump is also suing the Times in a $15 billion defamation lawsuit, accusing it of trying to sabotage his 2024 election campaign and disparage his reputation as a successful businessman.
The dude has increased his net worth significantly, and he won the election.
Yeah. His own reputation disparages his reputation.
Yeah.
EEOC says the newspaper acted with malice or reckless indifference. The EEOC sued on behalf of an 11-year Times veteran who sought a promotion to deputy real estate editor. Oh, wow. That was always my dream as a kid. One day when I'm an adult, I'll be deputy real estate editor at the New York Times, and the world will be perfect. After working primarily as a senior staff editor at the international desk. According to the complaint, the Times had for several years tried to hire more Black, Hispanic, and female employees to create a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive newspaper, and in 2024 decided it needed more non-white leaders. The EEOC said that despite being qualified for the promotion, the editor never made it to the final hiring stage, where a less qualified multiracial female was chosen over a white female, Black male, and Asian female. One interviewer called the winning candidate a bit green overall and said, "I don't see her contributing to the expansion of the coverage in a significant way," the complaint said. The EEOC said the Times enforced its unlawful employment practices with malice or with reckless indifference toward the rights of the white male editor. It wants the Times to end those practices and compensate the editor with back pay, future loss pay, and punitive damages. The Times, in its statement, accused the EEOC of making sweeping claims that ignore the facts to fit a predetermined narrative. Neither race nor gender played a role in this decision. We hired the most qualified candidate, and she is an excellent editor. In a December interview with Reuters, Lucas said, "My goal is to shift to a conservative view of civil rights, including attacking all forms of race discrimination, including DEI." The agency's subsequent enforcement activity has included probing whether footwear and apparel companies Nike discriminated against white employees, and a lawsuit accusing a Coca-Cola bottler of illegally excluding men from an employee networking event. So, interesting case, right?
Yes.
Reverse discrimination is what they're claiming in there. I'm all for merit-based, and I don't know if that's what the Times is doing or not, because I don't work for the Times. I don't have inside knowledge or anything like that. But it being a New York company and it being as severely liberal as it has been, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. But, it's just...
Hiring is more of an art than a science. I mean, look, I'm all about merit-based myself. I would never want a job just because I am an older woman. Nobody would want that. And those are a couple of protected categories there. But I would never want that. I would want to know that I was hired for the right reasons. And the truth is that, again, hiring is an art. It's not just what the person is on paper. How easy is this person to work with? Has this person shown receptivity to feedback? Does this person have experience or connections that could grow that department? And we have one statement from one of the interviewers, but we don't have the rest of them.
Exactly.
We're not seeing that. So it does concern me. And, and real estate is an important issue because historically, people who own real estate have been people who have been privileged. And in fact, whole groups of people, including people of color in this country, have been excluded from real estate holdings. So there might be some good reason to want somebody in that role who has broader experience in these issues. And we don't know what this person's experience is because we're not seeing that in this report. So, I mean, I think this is a tricky question, but it does seem to me that the EEOC is drawing a line in the sand and said, this is how we're defining discrimination. And this is how we're defining ourselves. And we're going to be trying to correct what we believe have been the wrongs of trying to support and uplift people who have historically been on the outside and including them in. So again, I don't want to see employers or anybody discriminating, doing what they called reverse discrimination by any stretch of the imagination. And I don't want to see people being excluded simply because they are white males of some relative economic privilege. But at the same time, I'm not entirely convinced that this administration is holding to a line of equality and fairness either.
No, they're not. This is just another attack on the New York Times.
Yeah,
is basically what it is, because if the FTC doesn't have any proof, right? They're fishing.
And they have to put, and they're going to have to put resources. The New York Times, and legacy, even as well off as it may be, media is having a hard time economically right now, financially right now.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the reasons why they were hiring this woman for this role, maybe it's because she's not going to demand the same salary as an international division senior editor would.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a possibility there. Is that being addressed?
I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that's the thing. That's pure speculation.
Exactly. And it's pure
they
speculation.
Don't give a lot of that information.
Yeah, and it's pure speculation on the FTC's part as well. So more wasted time by our government, including by our FCC chairman, who's got a hard-on for Jimmy Kimmel, apparently. So FCC chairman Brendan Carr couldn't get Jimmy Kimmel fired, so he went after Disney's.
And we reported on. He's been threatening this. Remember, it was probably a month or so back. Yeah. He was saying, your broadcast license are coming up for renewal. And now he's going after the mouse.
Which is just going to mean another lawsuit. I mean, it's just, it's, wash, rinse, repeat. So yesterday, FCC chairman and rejected Muppet Show puppet Brendan Carr appeared on a podcast hosted by Katie Miller, wife of Deputy White House Chief of Staff of Policy, Stephen Miller. I didn't think Stephen Miller would have a wife, because doesn't that mean having to go to a church to get married? And I'm pretty sure if he hit the doorway, he would burst into flames.
Didn't you see him using her as a shield, or groping her and possibly using her as a shield after the assassination attempt? The photo is everywhere, and he's like ducking behind her, and he's got his hand over her breast. He's like grabbing onto her boobie, which is probably the only time he's been able to do so. And he's like ducking behind her. And it's not clear. People were saying he was using her as a human shield. I don't know, but his position was not that of a protective husband and father. That's all I'm going to say on that topic.
Yeah. So on her podcast, the conversation turned to Disney. Carr walked her through the agency's options. Licenses come up for renewal every so often, he explained. The chairman can accelerate the schedule when he has concerns. He can call them in early.
That should not be allowed, in my view, but go on.
No, it's probably illegal as hell in some aspects. But the same afternoon, his FCC did exactly that. 2 days earlier, Trump and his wife, Melania, had demanded ABC fire Jimmy Kimmel for an expectant window joke about the age gap. A widow. Yeah. Expectant widow joke about the age gap between the 79-year-old president and his 56-year-old wife. What is it, 23 years? By Tuesday, Carr's FCC had ordered Disney to file early renewals for its 8 owned and operated ABC stations, including the flagships in New York, LA, Chicago, and Philadelphia. The original deadline stretched from 2028 to 2031. The new deadline is May 28th. The agency said it had nothing to do with Kimmel. Right. Sure. Wink, wink, wink. I sprained my eyelid from winking so hard. The FCC's filing pointed to a year-long investigation into Disney's DEI practices. And Carr told reporters the accelerated review was unrelated to anything Kimmel had said. We're just doing this rando style. The free speech group Fire called the explanation a fig leaf. Interesting. Seth Stern of the Freedom of the Press Foundation noted Carr had argued before becoming chairman that the FCC has no role in policing content. Andrew Schwartzman, a public interest lawyer, told CNN the agency had not pulled this lever against a major broadcaster in decades. Yeah, because Trump hasn't been president until now. Carr has been here before in September after Kimmel made on-air comments about the suspect in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Carr went on Benny Johnson's podcast. Jesus Christ, that psychopath. That you talk about propaganda. That guy is Rush Limbaugh. He's Timu Rush Limbaugh. He's not even as good as Rush, but he's trying to be. And warned broadcasters they could do this the easy way or the hard way. Nexstar and Sinclair, 2 of the largest owners of ABC affiliates, preempted Kimmel's show within days. Disney suspended him for 6 days before bringing him back. The FCC does not regulate cable, it does not regulate streaming, it does not regulate podcasts. The one thing it regulates with real authority is broadcast television. Nilay Patel, editor-in-chief of The Verge, has been making this point for months on The Vergecast, the publication's flagship podcast. The pressure lands where the lever exists. Joe Rogan on Spotify is outside Carr's reach. Hassan Piker, the Twitch streamer who told his audience anyone serious about Medicare fraud would kill Rick Scott and once said the U.S. deserved 9/11, is outside Carr's reach. Nick Fuentes, the white nationalist live streamer who has openly minimized the Holocaust, is outside Carr's reach. Jimmy Kimmel made an age gap joke. He is on broadcast television. That puts him inside Carr's reach. So you get the gist of it there. And he said, oh no, this has nothing to do with Kimmel. Yeah, it's just very coincidental.
Bullying. This is bullying. And I mean, the mouse can handle it. But again, he could go after other smaller interests. There are a lot of small broadcasters out there, radio and television. Small time, and Carr could very easily pull this same crap with them.
Yeah.
Look, if a station needs to be taken off the air because they're violating laws or regulations, you do it. You do not accelerate at whim, capriciously, license renewal periods. That you just don't do that. This is despicable. Yeah. He is not supposed to be policing content, and yet here's the guy who started telling stations what music to play because it's the 250th anniversary of the USA. And by gum, I tell you, I love to listen to classical music on the local public radio station. And sure enough, right after that happened, he said we should have George Gershwin, John Philip Sousa, Duke Ellington. He named the names that he wanted. And sure enough, God bless the poor folks at this station, their classical program had a piece by John Philip Sousa. And it was wonderful. I enjoyed it. But man, did that send, chills down my spine. This is, broadcast media is democratic. The radio is, I think, the most democratic because radios are so cheap. But broadcast television, again, it's accessible media. It is free to anybody with a television and a receiver, an antenna of some kind. And yes, digital antennas are out there. They're cheap. You can get one for $20 off Amazon. And you can get a whole bunch, depending on where you live, you can get a whole lot of stations. And he's going after something that is absolutely critical to free press in in the U.S. Not to mention emergency notifications, which we again need because we're living in very unstable times. But this is a free source of news, information, entertainment, culture, and he is saying, "Hey, I control this now on behalf of my big boss." This is despicable.
Yeah. To which Disney will probably reply, "See you in court." Here we go again. Well, some good news on the radio front, especially
This is so much fun. This is some great news.
If you're an old fart like me,
and
who's
like
only
me,
2 years older than you.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
That's right.
See, I was trying to help you out there, but no.
I know, but I'm all about honesty and integrity, Uncle Warren.
There you go. There you go. Well, after 40 years, and for the first time, WKRP returns to Cincinnati. They weren't technically there, but I mean on the magic picture box they were. So the most famous fictional call letters in radio history are finally home for real. As of 6 a.m. this morning, was this May 4th? So this is on Star Wars Day. Starting on Star Wars Day, WKRP is on the air in Cincinnati, Dayton, Northern Kentucky, brought to life by two of the market's most seasoned operators, and they have no intention of playing it straight, as they should not. Exactly. Randy Michaels and Jeff Zeisman have spent decades in radio, most recently with the hyper-local, low-commercial brand, the Oasis. When the WKRP call letters came up for auction, they didn't hesitate long. For the past 12 years, WKRP has belonged to a 100-watt low-power FM in Raleigh, North Carolina, operated by Oak City Media. Under FCC guidelines, and LPFM, low power FM, can authorize other broadcast services to share its call sign, and Oak City General Manager DP McIntyre engineered exactly that, bidding off the right to the letters as a fundraiser for struggling LPFMs nationwide, which we are always telling you about. These low power places and community stations are in deep trouble. Financially anyway. As Eisman and Michaels know, these are far more than just four letters. They are shorthand for everything radio could be when it stopped taking itself too seriously. And in the exclusive interview with Radio Inc., they lay out their game plan to honor that. And you can read that interview on our Substack. We'll have all these links here for you.
They are there.
This is great news.
Yeah, this is fantastic. First of all, for you youngsters out there, WKRP in Cincinnati was a groundbreaking television show back in the 70s. It had a renaissance, I want to say back in the early 2000s, was it the 2000s or the 90s, came back. But it was about a radio station in Cincinnati where they had flipped their format from beautiful, I think it was beautiful music to rock. And it was a great deal of fun, the show was, and it inspired a lot of young people to go into radio. And so
I'm one of them.
Yeah. A lot of people, they saw that show and that this is what I want to do. And this was kind of radio's heyday. Everything was great. And they did that. So it's wonderful seeing that it's actually coming back to Ohio, that they make some use of those call letters. I want to point out that Jeff Zeisman and Randy Michaels are two absolute professionals. I had the pleasure of interviewing Randy Michaels when I was the editor of Radio Inc. magazine. He's a legend. He headed up the Tribune, Chicago Tribune, here over there in Chicago. Jeff Zeisman, a guy who really knows how to run radio stations. So this is a really exciting time. I think it's fun for everybody there, to have this, I think it's at a time where needs to be a revitalized interest in legacy mediums, and people are seeing how great radio can be when radio stations are being run at the local level, where you're not trying to scale, you're not trying to impress corporate shareholders, where you're actually trying to run a radio station in a community and serve that community. And so the knowledge that this station, the Oasis is now, has these call letters is, you can tell how happy I am. I'm just thrilled.
Yes, anybody who loves rock and roll, who's Gen X basically, that grew up with WKRP, yeah, it was to see the music, well, to hear the music that they were playing and just the way they were doing it, it was just like, yeah, like you said, there was a lot of people who were inspired by WKRP to try to get into radio themselves. And I didn't get in until probably the early 90s, but while I was in college. And of course, everybody that I worked with in radio had some sort of inspiration, whether it be big or small, from WKRP. So that's good. It's good to know. And now it gives me incentive to go to Cincinnati just to listen to the radio station. They probably have it online too, I guess, right?
Yeah, Chuck just shared with us their website, wherethemusicwent.com. Again, I'm loving the old school artwork here. It's just this is I'm so tickled. I gotta tell you, I'm just so tickled.
Yeah, wherethemusicwent.com. And that's good. And so that's one of the beauties of the internet, is if you can't be in the area where it's being broadcast, at least you can still listen to it somehow. So
oh no, now it's Tom Jones. I mean,
it's not unusual.
It's not unusual.
I mean, Delilah. Sorry, I can't make a reference out of that. We're running a little bit.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
little bit on time, so we're going to go ahead and get to finally today with our little fish friend doing stand up there because he thinks he's a comedian. It looks like Jabberjaw's a little bit in that thing there. So robots are everywhere, Lainey. We're gonna be taken over by robots. But in the meantime, they're flying on our planes and causing ruckuses. So the robot passenger causes flight delay in California.
A Southwest flight from Oakland to San Diego landed more than an hour late Thursday. The reason? Meet Bebop, a 70-pound humanoid robot built for events and performances.
Pretty interesting carry on, to say the least.
Sorry,
or was
the audio's a little
Bebop
low.
a passenger?
Bebop was actually a passenger.
Bebop travels the country for work, but this time the robot's case was too heavy to check under Southwest rules. So his team at Dallas-based Elite Event Robotics bought Bebop a seat. Before boarding, Bebop even put on a show for passengers. But once the robot was strapped in, the question started.
Then they come and start asking, what kind of batteries does it have? What's going on with this? X, Y, and Z. They want to
And meanwhile, I'm like watching his flight and I keep seeing online runway delay.
In a statement to ABC7, Southwest said Bebop's lithium battery exceeded the maximum allowable size, so it was confiscated. The team at Elite Event Robotics is now working to get the battery back before their next trip.
So will Bebop be joining you on another flight then in the future?
He'll be there on Sunday.
At the moment, we got him under 100 pounds, so I shouldn't have to worry about actually like walking him through the terminal.
And we're overnighting batteries to Chicago tomorrow to hopefully be able to fulfill the next event request.
An airline delay due to a humanoid robot, only in the Bay Area. Dustin Dorsey, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, only in the Bay Area do you not do some research on TSA regulations.
Yeah. They forgot he had a battery on him.
I mean, it's all very cute and everything, but it's like, folks.
Well, I mean, it's just here it is. This is the beginning of iRobot, I think. You're gonna have more, you'll be flying somewhere and you look over and there's a robot sitting in the seat, and you're like, okay.
Are they going to use drones to deliver the batteries now?
I guess so. Yeah, because the robots feel more comfortable when like relatives deliver the stuff rather than human hands, because they don't trust the pink skins, as they called them in Star Trek Enterprise, the Andorians. That's a third Star Trek reference today. The trifecta. That's all I got, Lainey. That's it. That's no more, no más, nuevos, aquí, por favor. And I probably just butchered that language. I'm sorry. Hey, Chris, what's going on?
Good to see you. This is
normalize these kinds of machines and people. Yeah, it is. Well, that's what they're doing. They're going to normalize that. They're going to normalize AI. And when those two get together, forget it.
All right. I want to remind everybody, we are on a quest for 100 subscribers to our YouTube channel. And if you would please subscribe, if you have not already, to our YouTube channel, we would absolutely appreciate it. I've just put in our link tree. There's a link right at the very top. You've got your the YouTube icon there. If you just click on that and subscribe to our channel, we would really appreciate it. We want to thank everybody for all your support as well. Your comments showing up. We're at 10 more to go. So if you guys can help us out with that, we'd love it.
Yeah, if we get to 100, I'm going to put on a gorilla costume and run around Chicago giving people bananas. No, I'm not going to do that. But we'll do something fun for sure.
We'll do something fun. We will.
Yeah, so that's all for us today. I'll be back on Friday morning for Morning Extra, and of course the Secret Show Friday evening. All those are on the Extra Bullet channel, also on Rumble and Facebook on my Jonathan Dearman page. That's me, by the way. And then this show will be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And then we'll have more news you can use. And again, we do appreciate everybody, especially if you're watching this live or if you're watching us in the future. If you're watching us from the past and you're a time traveler, give me a call. Let me know. We'll talk business. I got a few jobs for you, time traveler. Anything else before we get out of here, Lady P?
I'm just glad to see you, Uncle Warren. Glad to see everybody. Great show today, and thank you all so much.
Yes, thanks everybody. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I know that sounds cliche, but we really need that.
Important.
It really is important. Because the more we don't have to be divided. We could the more we're united, the more that scares the higher ups. So let's scare the higher ups. Let's give them a little bit of a scare, just a little bit, and then we make it bigger.
We're scared.
I'll see you in hell. All right, folks, have a good one. We'll see you later. Peace.